A few weeks ago, Cam Newton made some remarks that put the social media world in a frenzy. His statement got me thinking about the biblical roles of men and women in marriage and also caused me to want to take a deeper look into what he said. In this video, I will give just a few observations about his comments and explain what biblical marriage looks like. If at any time you like what you hear, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Without wasting any more of your time, let's begin. This first point doesn't pertain to Cam Newton. It is just something that I thought of with all the relationship and dating advice going around today. It is never good to make generalizations, especially when it comes to relationships and genders. My reasoning is common sense. There's this movement going on right now, especially on YouTube, where everyone is a relationship expert. Influencers like the late Kevin Samuels, Fresh and Fit podcast, Tommy Sotomayor, Corey Holcomb, Charleston White, and a litany of other channels and people are offering advice, with much of it being on the extreme ends. It is either or. It's black or white. All females are like this, all men are like that. And why do I feel like this is not a good thing? Because it is too easy. It ignores the details, the nuances. It ignores the millions of variables as to why people act the way they do. It ignores the fact that people are individuals. Instead of fleshing things out and looking at the big picture, people get lazy and lump everyone into groups. Why? Because it's easier that way. What's worse is that these same people influence thinking. Even some professing Christians take on negative thought patterns, ignoring biblical principles, and running with thoughts and ideas that don't accurately paint a correct picture of an individual person. In saying all this, there's nothing wrong with making generalizations. Sometimes we have to. But extreme generalizations that only serve to down a group of people, gender, etc. are never good. I've explored this issue more in my Kevin Samuels video. Cam Newton's comment wasn't sexist. Believe it or not, there are people who have opinions based on their experience. He made a comment about a specific type of woman. He didn't generalize all women. He didn't say that all women act this way or that way. I will say this though, it baffles me how some people collectively get amnesia when we know exactly what he's talking about. Over the last decade or so, especially within the last few years, this bad B complex has come around full force. Sexuality is being propagated at super speeds, from reality shows to IG models to music videos from content creators. This mindset is blatantly obvious. We also have to realize that Cam's opinion came from, again, his experience. Again, as he stated, he came from a traditional family, mother-father household. He's giving an opinion not only based on what we all see in regards to the bad B mentality being pushed on social media, television, music, and movies, but he's also letting people know why he feels the way he feels and what has shaped his way of thinking. Was it stated in a flowery way? No. Could the way he presented it rub people the wrong way? Sure. But how he said it is not the issue. It's what he said. And what did he say? A man raised in a traditional household giving his opinion said that he was raised with parents who were married close to 30 years. He's seeing the trend that we all see, where boss chicks are being vocal about everything, much of which from a Christian perspective doesn't hold any eternal value. Expensive trips, money, career, sexual prowess, self-absorption, doing whatever, whenever they want. These things stand in stark contrast to not only women of the past, but the women in his household. So this brings us to my last few points that will focus on marriage and women roles from a Christian perspective. I want to start this by saying traditional is not bad. Society is becoming increasingly more offended. And with, in my opinion, certain agendas being pushed that go contrary to scripture, the breakdown of the traditional family is under attack. A man leading a household, the woman being the nurturer and being a helpmate is not a bad thing. The problem comes in when people caricature this way of thinking. For instance, painting these pictures of this type family in their most extreme, worst forms. A woman slaving over the stove with no freedom, looking after 12 kids, ironing, looking trapped while her husband has a beer with his feet propped up watching the game. Or some image of the color purple pops up in your mind. There are a million wrong depictions that people have about the traditional family, and very few people get it right, including some Christians. In a book I'm reading by Doug Wilson titled How to Exasperate Your Wife, Mr. Wilson explores certain aspects of marriage. I'll expound on some of the scriptures and notes I took from the book, as I think he nails some of the main points. The apostle teaches us that woman is the glory of man, and teaches us further that this is a great mystery. Anyone who believes he has the concept down pat is simply demonstrating that he does not have the faintest idea. If the woman is the crown of her husband, then the ultimate example of this is the church considered as the crown of Christ. I think this is self-explanatory. These notes also echo the scripture in Ephesians telling husbands to love their wives as Christ loved the church. Contrary to what those like Kevin Samuel say concerning high value, the man, particularly husbands, should value their wives. And if the woman is the crown of her husband, some of that value that we do get as men is a byproduct of doing what we are commanded to do in Scripture, loving our wives. Let's move on to the next one. In the family, the husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of the church. He is also the head of the home and has the responsibility to protect and provide for that household. He is responsible to lead and has the authority to do so, but the wise leadership never micromanages. Bottom line is that husbands can't do it by themselves, even with being the head of the household. Let's move on. A man should marry a woman who he can trust. Moving on to the other outline portion. In a godly home, that which is entrusted is the management of the home and all the inhabitants thereof. Of course, the husband is not under her command. She ought not to boss him around like he is one of the kids, but at the same time, he is called upon to honor the standards which she establishes for the home. This will ensure that everyone in the house will see that he honors and respects her judgments. He married her, he entrusted these things to her, and respecting her judgments, he is standing by his own judgment. She is not the head of the home, but she is the executive of it. If her wishes are routinely disregarded, this means that her husband has failed to invest her with his authority and has failed to act as an example for the rest of the household. So this is what we can put together. The woman, a wife, is more than the images being conjured up by critics and agendas that wish to attack the traditional family unit, husband, wife, children. While the husband is the head of the home, the provider, he must delegate this power if the home and marriage is to be fruitful. He respects his wife, who yields power over the home. She runs the show. He also has to fall in line with the rules, guidelines she sets in managing the home. He trusts her, and this trust is actualized by him entrusting her with running the show. I also want to add that the wife is not only relegated to the home, she is also a woman of industry. She has ideas, she makes business moves, again, not just confined to the home. Everything I've just said and discussed is seen in the virtuous woman, is seen in Proverbs 31. Let's take a look. An excellent wife, who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm. All the days of her life she seeks wool and flax, and works with willing hands. She is like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hand she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. So as we can see, again, this is not being confined to the home. Look at verses 16 and 18. She's buying property. She's running a business venture. I think it's obvious that the take on the biblical woman by societal standards is wrong, both inside and outside the church. So many people and Christians are getting it wrong, in my opinion. In closing, I want to also say one thing. I understand that families are different, and by and large, families are going to look a lot different from family to family. What I've just talked about may not be an exact fit or reality for many families. This is not a sin. Some homes are one-parent households. There are other households where both parents have to work, or where the father may be staying home, or perhaps the wife is making more money. The situation I just described may not be ideal for a lot of families, and I understand that. Families are simply different. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you've liked what you've heard, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Remember, we're here for a reason and only a season. God bless you.